Because of the drought, of course, a very interesting financial year for a lot of Oklahoma producers. Joining us now is Damona Doye, our extension economist. And Damona, what kind of situation are producers kind of looking at as we close out the year, finance-wise?
There's a wide range of possibilities depending on what kind of strategy they employed in coping with the drought. So if they liquidated either partially or completely the herd early in the year, they may have realized very high prices and have a lot of cash. On the other hand, if they tried to hang on to all the cattle they could and had to feed them for extended periods, they may have actually incurred some debt and run up bills that will remain to be paid at the end of the year.
And what kind of questions are producers having, and what kind of direction are you giving them as we kind of plan ahead for next year?
Well, it's really important to stay on top of cash flow. So if they've accumulated a lot of cash, the good news is that they have that cash available to reinvest in cattle next year. The bad news is that they won't have part of the factory, and so they have less income to be generated unless they buy cattle. And of course, it may be expensive to repurchase cattle next year. For those who continue to feed cattle, it's going to be really important to manage cash next year. They may need to do some budgeting, tightening the belt, because they have experienced higher costs than usual. And so while they still have the cattle, they may be strapped for cash.
Okay. And I guess the best thing to do as they start planning is to really assess what they have, and there are some tools available to help them do that.
Yeah, we'd really encourage them to look closely at their financial position and to do some budgeting and looking ahead at what they might anticipate for the coming year. So if they don't have a good record-keeping package, for instance, we'd encourage them to take a look at things like Quicken or QuickBooks to track their cash flow and expenses, as well as maybe monitor their actual expenses relative to a budget. If they're thinking about buying cattle, they may want to look at a spreadsheet tool that we have, the cow bid price calculator. So that would allow them to plug in some values as to anticipated prices for both the purchase price of the cow as well as future prices for calves, plug in their anticipated production cost to get a handle on whether the return is likely to exceed the expenditure.
And if someone wants some more hands-on help, they can actually contact their county extension educator and set up a workshop?
Sure. For Quicken, we've been doing hands-on computer workshops for a number of years, so if there's a half dozen people or so that are interested in getting some experience with Quicken, talk to your county extension educator, line that up. Another resource that I should point out is the IFMAPS program, so if they need help in putting together a set of financial statements, looking at budgets, they can call our 1-800 number to get one-on-one assistance in doing some financial planning.
And Damona, now of course is a really good time to reassess and kind of look at where we are heading into the next year.
Yes. At the end of the year is a good time to assess for tax purposes, to sort and summarize your income and expenses. It's also a great time to get established for the new year, to get your record keeping set up so that it will identify your important expenses. You can use those records in developing a budget and monitoring your actual expenses relative to that budget.
Okay, good anytime, but especially with all we've dealt with this past year. Okay, Damona Doye, thanks a lot. And for a link to the programs that Damona talked about, just go to sunup.okstate.edu.